What would it take per year from your TV deal to get you to stay in the Pac-12? Because this is a big, important question. Stuart Mandel and others have published alleged numbers to show what ESPN is negotiating against itself to pay the Pac-12 to air their games. And the baseline number per school per year is $30 million per school per year. Now, that seems like a lot of money, only it's not very much money at all. When you consider that the Big Ten is getting $100 million per school.
Dude.
There's no way, if you are a Pac-12 institution right now, that you can stay in the Pac-12, Pac-10, for $30 million a year. And there is talk that the Pac-10 wants to drive that number up closer to $40 million. To which I say $40 million ain't even half enough money if I am Utah, Oregon, Washington, Stanford. If I am any of the remaining schools outside of Oregon State, $40 million a year would probably be unbelievable. But if I'm Arizona State, if I'm Arizona basketball, $40 million a year isn't even a starting point for per year value from your TV contract. The question for me is, can ESPN save the Pac-12? And the only way that ESPN is in position to save the Pac-12 is if ESPN Plus is involved in every game streams in the ESPN app. And that deal is much more in the $60 to $70 million per school per year range than the $30 to $40 million range.
Yeah.
Because at $60 to $70 million a year, Jake, I think you're saying to yourself, man, do I really want to pack up all of grandma's fine china and put it in boxes and move to Poughkeepsie? Do you really want to move conferences?
Obviously not.
Well, at $30 million a year, yeah. By the way, can I get some of those wardrobe boxes for my shirts? Like, yeah, at $40 million a year, bring the moving boxes, bring some tape, and let's pack this thing up because I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Right? Exactly right. At $30 to $40 million, I'm out.
This case is empty.
At $60 to $70 million, yeah, well, maybe, we can hang out here. I know that the windows need to be replaced and stuff, but we can hang out here. I'm willing to stay in the Pac-12 at $60 to $70 million. If you add San Diego State, now I'm really willing to be here for $60 to $70 million.
Right.
But I'm telling you, the only way that this deal at $60 to $70 million makes sense is if every Pac-12 game is streamed on ESPN+. That's the only way it makes sense. Because everybody else around the country has every game available for consumption on a phone.
Cold-blooded, clean,
That's
and thorough.
where we're going. And this deal that the Pac-10 is negotiating now, here's my biggest problem with it. It's not a couple of seasons. It's a decade.
Yeah.
You're looking at a 10-year TV rights deal. If you are not streaming those games, Jake, I don't see how on earth you can possibly think that that's enough.
Yeah, well, here's the problem. The teams that, there's a handful of teams that have the opportunity to, or probably will have the opportunity to get to, the Big 12 or another conference, which is obviously the Utahs, the Oregons, and the Washingtons of the world. Those three schools particularly have an opportunity. Obviously, the Arizona schools, but they're less valuable than those three. And I think the thing for me when I look at this whole situation is if you're a Utah, Oregon, or a Washington, you're not even humoring this deal.
No.
You're saying, hey, we need to get the hell out of here. We're not going to be here for $30 million or $40 million a year. And even if it was $60 million a year, we're not thrilled with that, but that's a nice backup plan. But I think the problem is if you're a Cal, let's say, or a Stanford, let's say, you don't have a choice. So what are you going to do? Because you're not going to the Big 12. You're going to go to the Mountain West if the conference dissolves. That's so to me, can ESPN save the Pac-10 at this point? Yeah, I think on some level, sure, it can help it exist, but I don't think the Pac-10 or the Pac-8 or whatever it turns into is a Power 5 conference anymore. I think it's just a conference that exists. It is the Mountain West. It is, whatever conference you want to point to. The conferences that are going to be, college football playoff relevant are obviously the SEC, the Big 10, and the Big 12.
Yeah.
Those three. And if Clemson decides to be good on any given year, then sure, the ACC. That's that. But that's why I say ESPN is not going to save the conference as it's currently constituted. I think it's going to pay teams that are still there that are potentially valuable assets to ESPN from a visibility standpoint.
I just don't know how you compete as a conference if you are at $30 million a year.
You're not.
Honest to goodness.
You're not.
I mean, you're just not at a place where $30 million a year buys you new seats at the Memorial Stadium at Cal.
What does it do for anybody?
It doesn't. You would have to have some massive endowment. You would have to have some massive fan base. Like, I don't know how you close that span. And this is why I say when we're talking about Big 12 versus Pac-12, and I think this is one of those things where we talk about, hey, who survives, the Big 12 or the Pac-12? And everybody wants to talk about, hey, the Big 12 doesn't have the TV viewership that the Pac-12 has. Totally agree with that. But it doesn't matter how many people watch. It matters how much money you're getting in your TV deal. And that's why I say, like, this thing where Notre Dame would remain independent, but they would do a TV deal with the Big 12 and Notre Dame at NBC that puts every Big 12 game on the Peacock and on the cock. Too much.
Who the hell names their platform Peacock?
Well, it's the history of NBC, you douche.
Who the hell does that, bro? Come on. Give it the time.
If you stream every game on the cock and you're able to put...
Yes, you did.
And you're able to put Big 12 football on NBC and TNT and USA and every other NBC-owned channel and the Peacock app.
Yes.
That's a deal that makes sense. And, oh, by the way, you're teamed up with Notre Dame. And now Notre Dame and the Big 12 have a scheduling agreement. That's a win-win.
Yeah.
That's a TV deal.
Yes.
When you're at ESPN and you're getting $30 million a year and ESPN's getting a million viewers every single week for Pac-12 After Dark, you're in trouble.
But do you see what I mean? How that deal benefits ESPN? They're still getting the views. They don't care about. I mean, it's probably harsh to say they don't care about the Pac-10 or how many of our teams are in that deal. But my point is that deal doesn't really benefit Pac-12 schools, if you will.
At all.
Like, it brings them money, but not a lot of money. But it benefits ESPN a whole hell of a lot. Like, no matter what you think of the Pac-12 right now, 1 million views a game is pretty damn good. And that's why I'm saying for ESPN, it's just a simple business decision. It's not like, hey, we're on a mission to save the Pac-12 and we're emotional about it. No, they want their 1 million views a game. They want to make their money, and they want to do what ESPN does, which is bring money into the company. That's what they do. So that's why I say the Pac-10, Pac-12, Pac-8, whatever it is, ESPN's not saving anybody. ESPN is seeing an opportunity, and they're trying to capitalize on that opportunity. And I say, more power to you, man. But if you're Utah, Oregon, Washington, you got to get the hell out, and you got to get to the Big 12, in my opinion. That's where you need to go.
Well, and I think when you look at this situation with ESPN Plus, and the ESPN app, that's a TV deal.
Yeah.
And I cannot stress this enough. And if you don't follow John Canzano on his website, he does a radio show across the Northwest as well. Like, if you don't follow John, I think he is the preeminent. I don't even know of another. John Wilner's very good at the Bay Area News Group as well. Those two guys, I don't know that there's another Pac-12 insider that is even in the ballpark. I mean, those two guys routinely have the news first.
They're elite.
And if their numbers are correct, that ESPN, because the situation, if you don't know it, the Pac-12 right now is in an exclusive negotiating window with ESPN and Fox on a 10-year TV deal that expires on August 4th. That negotiating window expires on August 4th. So they have until August 4th to negotiate exclusively with ESPN and Fox. And if you are ESPN, I don't see how it makes sense to negotiate against yourself. Mm-hmm. But what leverage does the Pac-12 have at this moment? You're losing Southern California, which by far is their largest TV market.
Yeah.
By far. So if you are the Big Ten, you're thrilled to be getting UCLA and USC and the Los Angeles TV market.
Yeah.
That's great. But if you're ESPN, how excited are you to go over $35, $40 million a year when you're not getting Los Angeles in that TV deal? And I don't think it makes a lot of sense for ESPN to bid against themselves when you're not getting Los Angeles. That's the real tricky part of this. Does Oregon and Washington make up for that? It doesn't, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that the Pac-12 is not a viable TV partner.
Can you get 1 million views on San Diego State?
San Diego State, I think, is a really interesting part of this conversation because I actually do think that San Diego State is in demand around college football. If you read the tea leaves, you hear a lot of people wanting to talk to San Diego State. And the other thing that I think we need to say here, if you are a Big 12 or Pac-12 school and you are not talking to other suitors, you're doing this the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
If every school in the Pac-12 has not had a conversation with the Big 12, you're doing this the wrong way.
Yeah.
If you are a Big 12 school and you have not talked to the Pac-12 conference, you're doing this the wrong way. If you are the Pac-12 and you are not negotiating with ESPN and Fox and Peacock and every other streaming service in the world, you're doing this the wrong way.
Yeah.
But there's also an unspoken truth that needs to be said. The Pac-12 right now today is headed for a dumpster fire. They are headed for death. The Pac-12 is on a current trajectory to not exist anymore.
Final.
And like we said yesterday, YouTube TV doesn't fix that. ESPN, ESPN app, ESPN Plus, and ESPN Radio, and ESPNU, and ESPN2, and ESPN Your Mom fixes that.
Yep.
The ABC ESPN family of networks and assets fixes the Pac-12's problem. Here's the other unspoken truth in college football, especially on college television. Fox Sports ain't it, bro.
Yeah.
Fox Sports, I would venture a guess that most of you watching this show today don't know what the Fox Sports streaming app is called.
Y'all feel me?
I don't know what it's called.
Fox Sports Go. I don't know that most people know what that is. And what I'm telling you is Fox Sports on its own ain't it, bro. You're not that guy, pal, Fox Sports. You're just not.
Yep.
ESPN is that guy.
Yeah.
You don't like ESPN? Okay, well then go and die a long, slow death in the Pac-10. Because if you do this deal exclusively with Fox, there's no deal to do.
Pack your shit. Let's go.
There's one deal to do. It's with ESPN and the ESPN family of networks. And if you want to survive, that's the deal you do. Because with all due respect, Fox Sports doesn't have the carriage and doesn't have the what's called in the business, the echo that ESPN has.
I'm going to say this again.
Because ESPN TV can promote ESPN2, can promote ESPN app, plus radio, website, ESPN.com. Like, it carries across.
I want you to listen to me.
They're the preeminent brand in sports.
Yep.
There's a reason they're called the worldwide leader in sports.
Because they are.
And that's the God's honest truth. As much as that hurts, that's the God's honest truth. Greg Hawkins, good morning to you. From an athletic standpoint, the Big 12 would be a lateral move for schools like Utah and Colorado. For schools like Oregon, it would be a step down. They would bolt no matter what. I totally disagree with that. I think where the Big 12 is now, they're in a much better position, history-wise, prestige-wise. Like, I look at basketball. The Pac-12 is no longer a basketball conference.
Yeah.
It's not. Because UCLA, even though they've had a better, decent run here, UCLA has struggled for a long time now. UCLA is finally on the rise basketball-wise. And the other thing is, and I don't want to go too far without mentioning this, UCLA is in a real bad spot with the state of California. Because Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, is not just going to let them walk away unscathed. UCLA didn't tell anybody, UCLA, which is the University of California at Los Angeles, the UC system, they forgot to tell somebody in, I don't know, California that they were walking away.
The ink isn't dry yet.
And now people want answers. So UCLA is all of a sudden become an awkward dance partner for the Big Ten.
Yeah.
So keep an eye on that. But my point is, UCLA is not a football program. Nobody gives a damn about Chip Kelly.
Yeah.
Outside of, the Pac-12, nobody cares about Chip
Anybody
Kelly.
know who else is on the UCLA football team besides DTR?
Honest to goodness, there is zero in football. Basketball, John Wooden is a living legend. And he will always be in eternity, a living legend. That name is power in basketball.
Yeah.
Right? So Arizona, that's a basketball program. UCLA, that's a basketball program. You look at the conference, is Stanford still a basketball school? Not really. Who in the Pac-12
But wait, Stanford's
carries,
a football school, right?
Not really. I mean, Stanford is valuable, don't get me wrong. That's a tiny fan base.
Yeah.
It's a tiny fan base. I think people view Stanford as some huge university. It's a tiny fan base. My point is, you have a couple of basketball schools in the Pac-10. In the Big 12, that's a massive basketball conference. You're already a better basketball conference than the Pac-10 is coming in, right? You're already. And by the way, now you're not going to have UCLA as a basketball program in that conference.
Yep.
So now you take UCLA away, you're a one-man band. You're Arizona basketball. You're not attractive as a basketball conference. Sorry. Yeah. That's the reality of it. So when I look at the Big 12, that's a better basketball conference. When I look at the Big 12 as a football property, here's the thing that nobody in the Pac-12 wants to talk about. BYU changes the game in the Big 12 for football, for reach, for TV.
Facts.
Cincinnati changes the game for reach, for TV, for quality of football.
Yep.
Houston gives you just another piece of the Texas pie, right? But you know the other team that the Big 12 should be all in on? Fucking SMU. Go get Dallas, Texas.
Dallas.
Right? Go get SMU. If I'm the Pac-12, I'm all in on SMU. I want Dallas. Give me Dallas, baby. I need Dallas. If I am the Pac-12, I need SMU and San Diego State.
What would I do without you?
Secure me SoCal and give me a piece of Dallas.
Yeah.
That makes all the sense in the world for the Pac-12 because the Dallas TV market is not small and SMU is coming back.
Yeah.
But then again, if I'm the Pac-12, and this is Greg Hawkins in terms of your conversation here. What do you have if you're the Pac-10 to go to a Big 12 school? Ask yourself this question. If you're the Pac-10 right now, and that's what you are, you're 10 teams. If you're the Pac-10 right now, how do you go to Cincinnati? Change your mind. Come to us. Like everybody, talking about, well, we're going to go to BYU. How are you going to get BYU to come out of the Big 12 now that you thumb your nose at them for a decade?
Hey, guys.
How is that going to work? It's not. How are you going to go to Oklahoma State and say, hey, man, Stillwater's beautiful this time of year? Because the Pac-12 doesn't have any leg to stand on. Oklahoma State's not coming to the Pac-12.
Yeah.
They're not. It's not going to happen. Do you think Kansas basketball is coming to the Pac-12? That's not happening. The reality is, what's the likely outcome? If we're just truth-telling.
Yeah.
Oh, but we get more viewers in the Pac-12 and we're research institutions. Well, you're also about to die.
Yeah.
The reality is the Pac-12 is going away. The reality is that conference isn't going to exist in its current incarnation.
The reality is it's been downhill for the last decade.
Yeah.
That's the reality.
That's the reality of it.
Yeah.
The most ardent supporter of the Pac-12, tell me that the likely reality is that you don't lose a bunch because you're
Biggest
gonna.
kick in the balls you'll ever get.
You're gonna. The Big 12 doesn't have to do anything, but the problem is you have to fortify your flanks now because you are vulnerable.
Yeah.
That's the reality. The reality of the Pac-12 is you're probably dying. The reality of the Big 12 is you're vulnerable. You're vulnerable because if you were to lose Kansas, you're in real trouble. If you were to lose Oklahoma State, well, just pack that shit up now. Excuse my French.
Pack everything up. We're out of here.
Right? I mean, just pack it. You lose Oklahoma State and the booster base and the money. And
Why don't we just bundle everybody into the SEC? How about that? How about we just make the USA conference and we'll play the whole country in one conference? How about that?
KL8N says, Clayton says, college football, yawn, say something basketball related. Well,
I got news for you, man.
You're pretty rare in that view.
College football is not yawn. Everybody loves college football. I'm just sorry, man.
Yeah.
They do.
Greg Hawkins says football brings in more than all other sports combined. I would agree.
Yeah, like it's not even close.
Greg says college basketball barely moves the needle when it comes to conference revenue, but the tournament on CBS moves the needle. And selling shirts and merch, basketball is not the starter, but it's the finisher.
Yeah.
Basketball will quite nicely cap off your budget. Kansas is only in business because they play basketball.
And they play better than you.
And yes, they have a football program, I think, but they play basketball. Like, you want to talk about irrelevant? How would you feel about being Iowa State today? How would you feel about being Kansas State today? Nobody's talking about you. Like, you're a small school that is kind of irrelevant at this point.
Yeah.
You know, like it is one of those things where you're not relevant. You don't have leverage, and it makes it very difficult for you to operate.
And that's what I'm saying. I think there's definitely two sets of schools. You have the haves and the have-nots, as the saying goes. You know, you have the schools that are relevant, that everybody knows, that are constantly in the cycle every single year, that have some leverage. And then you have the Iowa States of the world that nobody gives a damn about until the tournament comes around and you're a bracket buster. You know what I mean? Like, so if you're one of those schools, you're along for the ride until you have to make a decision.
My guess is Oregon and Washington end up in the Big Ten. My guess is that the rest of the conference, because if you lose Oregon and Washington, who are your real valuable commodities? Well, certainly Utah becomes a crown jewel of what's left of that conference, of the 8 teams left in that conference. I don't know what to make of Arizona State right now. I don't. But I think Arizona State are very valuable. I mean, Colorado, everybody keeps talking about Colorado. Colorado, it's got Big 12 history, but that's a Mountain West school if I've ever seen one, just athletically speaking. I mean, I don't, and maybe I'm being disrespectful. I don't mean to be, but is Colorado moving anybody's needle? They're not. So if you're the Pac-10 right now, there's a lot of decisions to be made that need to be made very quickly because $30 million a year ain't it.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. And I agree with Greg. College basketball barely moves the needle, but hey, man, people care. A couple more, and then we got to get to the non-sports stories of the day. Going to better conference is nice, but also can destroy a program. Look at West Virginia moving to the Big 12. They were in a bowl every year and then went to crap. Yeah, that's a tough travel package, man.
Yeah.
Eric C. says, college football is cool. Barely got into it last year because of the Monty clan. Appreciate you, San Diego State.
San Diego.
Yeah, the whale's vagina is relevant. Jordan Clarkson destroys ankle says, Kay, are you saying a winning team program like the U and the guaranteed Holy War football rivalry isn't worth the Big 12? What are you smoking?
Yeah, I think, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're Utah, it's the Big 12 or bust. Like, I think you're going, you need that.
Kay Nurin said the Big 12 is going to take Oregon, Washington, Stanford, Cal, Colorado, and Arizona. Utah doesn't make the cut. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, you're just
Utah
hating,
makes the
dude.
cut.
Yeah.
Utah makes the cut. There's no doubt. Ruff's official says BYU fans think the Big 12 makes them big time. They are not top 10 potential. They never will be. Well, I would encourage you, Ruff's official, I'd encourage you to probably watch football or college football or basketball sometime. That's what I would say. The Black Tea Show is usually right, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, man, we have a brand, okay?
The Big 12 taking Notre Dame, LOL. Well, I don't think the Big 12 is taking Notre Dame anywhere. I think Notre Dame is an absolute beast of a TV partner for the Big 12. There is no indication that Notre Dame is going to leave independence. None. But that also does not mean that they can't do an NBC TV deal with the Big 12. I mean, Notre Dame is not joining the Big 12. No. If they were going to join a conference, it'd be the Big 10 and only the Big 10.
Mm-hmm.
So my point is, if you're the Big 12, partner up with Notre Dame and do an NBC deal. That's what I would do. If you're really gangster, go to ESPN, force a Pac-12 merger. Make ESPN leverage the Pac-12 into joining the Big 12.
Right.
Merge, make a super conference, and let's all go about our business. Because I don't think there's anybody who argues that if you had those conferences merge, the bottom half would be trash. There's no doubt about that. Top half of that conference is
for real.
You'd be making money.
I'm the best there is.
To me, that's $75 to $100 million a year in TV.
Yeah.
I don't see how it's not.
Yeah.
And if I'm ESPN, I want that on my network.
So I'm saying it all just comes down to revenue. Ultimately, like, no matter how you feel about the matchups, Holy War, no Holy War, like, you know, Pac-12, Big 12, like, it doesn't really matter. What matters is, you know, profit and loss statements. Like, are these schools making money and being productive? That's what matters.
Greg Hawkins says, maybe if Utah joins the Big 12, we will finally have a basketball program again. Well, Utah's the Running Rebels or the Running Utes got to get going again.
Yeah.
I mean, God, the Larry Kraskowiak era came to just a screeching halt.
Yeah.
You know, like it is just, man. Mason Gale went, how soon will we get an announcement on the next pin to drop in college football? Not soon enough. Not soon
College
enough.
football, the NBA. We're just waiting.
Real quick. I want to talk about this Kyler Murray contract thing.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray got the second largest average annual value in the NFL, and they're forcing him to have to study because Kyler Murray says he doesn't need to watch tape because he has a natural ability to see what's happening on the field.
Kyler.
Bro, you're 3 feet tall, first of all. Second of all, I don't know a quarterback, and again, not to tell you this every day, but I've worked in football a long time. I have never seen a quarterback not watch film and do well. Jamarcus Russell comes to mind. Like I know quarterbacks in the NFL who have flamed out. Like the infamous Josh Rosen story. Josh Rosen didn't bring his iPad home. Never used to bring it home until they figured out he was leaving it in his locker. And they had to force him to take his iPad home. Like that's you not being ready to play football in the NFL. That's you. And Kyler Murray just got the second richest quarterback deal ever. And he doesn't want to watch tape because little guy sees what's happening on the field.
That's pretty much self-explanatory.
Good job, Steve Keim.
Really nice.
This contract is a disaster.
Y'all feel me?
If you've got to ask your guy to study, it's a disaster.
You paid this guy after he clearly was unprepared to play the Rams.
It's a disaster.
Come
But
on.
the new helmets in the NFL are not a disaster. Now, and we were going to talk about Lamar Jackson and some other stuff. We're not going to. Because what we are going to do is we're going to talk about these helmets real quick. And then Mrs. Monty's fine ass is going to come in here.
Right.
She looks really good today, by the way.
Okay.
I still think the new alternate helmets, the best one is the Bengals. Look at this. Look at the Bengals helmet right here. I mean, look at that. Like, are you kidding me with that helmet?
Yeah, that's a beautiful helmet.
Are
bro.
you kidding me?
That's a beautiful helmet.
Watch this hype video from the NFL real quick. Okay, what was your favorite helmet in that video?
Well, obviously the Bengals one is the most,
The
distinguishable.
Bengals one?
The Cardinals, though, I think have the best one.
What about the Atlanta Falcons helmet?
Yeah, the Falcons helmet's really good. I like it a lot. I just maintain the Cardinals have the best one.
There's two in there that really stand out to me. The Dallas Cowboys with the blue star, the white helmet with the blue star, always going to be clean.
Yeah.
But boy, howdy, I'm telling you, that Bengals,
It's
Bengals,
hot.
the
There's
white
no
helmet,
doubt, man.
black student,
There's no doubt.
Come
It's
on.
hot, man. It's hot.
I need to see 3 foot tall and doesn't study football in that helmet before I make a decision.
I'm for real.
I do.
3 feet tall and doesn't study football, yet he's a gazillionaire.
Am I wrong?
No.
Tell me I'm wrong.
$160 million guaranteed.
Tell me I'm wrong.
$230 in incentives.
That
I mean,
verticality
yeah.
doesn't frickin' watch
My biggest
tape.
Listen, my biggest problem with Kyler Murray is he likes Kyler Murray too much, dude. Kyler Murray likes him some Kyler Murray, and that's where this not wanting to watch tape thing comes from. Like, you think that you're like above it. You think that you see things before they happened. Is that why you were unprepared for the rush against the Rams? Is that why you were unprepared to move your protection to handle Aaron Donald? Like, this guy is going to make the Cardinals look like an idiot, I feel like.
Greg Hawkins says the Cincinnati Zebras.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much what that is.
Mason Gale says, unfortunately, these NFL teams are focused on pay mediocre quarterbacks since these quarterbacks don't grow on trees. And real quick about Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, Maryland.
I'm going to say this again.
I think the Baltimore Ravens should not pay Lamar Jackson.
Why?
Because, again, I just will simply say he's going to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, and he can't stand in the pocket and throw the football to win a Super Bowl. And at this level, say it with me because I say it, I feel like all the time. If your quarterback can't stand in the pocket, Kyler Murray, and deliver the football, you suck. Your team's dead in the water. So how am I going to pay Lamar Jackson all that money? How am I going to pay Kyler Murray the second largest contract in the history of the NFL, and he doesn't watch tape because...
How dumb do you think I am?
Well, I'm the guy that I just see things happen on the field. Okay, next question. Like, that's who this guy is.